Hi everyone, welcome to the Product Marketing Festival. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the sessions that we have lined up for you today. With expert presentations, specialist talks and deep dive panel sessions on the agenda, suffice to say, you're in for a treat. Just before we jump in, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who's played a part in making this event possible. Our sponsors, partners, speakers, presenters, and of course you, the product marketing community. You can engage with all our speakers and their sessions today by posting your questions in the comments section of the broadcast, or you can reach out to them in our Slack community. Remember, you can catch up with all this week's content on demand, plus a whole host of other amazing benefits by becoming a PMA member. And whilst you're at it, why not check out Product Marketing Core, our industry-renowned certification. But for now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next session.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in today. This session is going to chat about executing an effective end-of-life strategy. And I really hope by the end of it that you will love sunsetting a product just as much as you love launching one, because they're both equally as important. My name is Janine Georgie, and I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Leta, where I've just recently joined just over a month ago. And if you're not familiar with Leta, we're an all-in-one social marketing platform built specifically for small to medium businesses. And if you're not using Leta to manage your social media channels, you are most likely using it or interacting with it through that coveted link in bio link. I've also just recently signed on as one of the hosts for the PMA Talks, which the Product Marketing Alliance puts on. And I host a monthly session on anything to do with product marketing. And so if you'd like to be involved or come on the show and have a chat, I'd love to talk to you. We can brainstorm ideas together, have a panel, etc. I'm all for it. So what makes me so knowledgeable on this particular subject? As I mentioned, I'd only just started at Leta, so actually most of my sunset experience is in my previous roles, which were more in the B2B enterprise SaaS space, where sales enablement was a really huge portion of that and obviously affected how we kind of did the rollout for a launch or a sunset. And I love sunsets. I think they're super important, and I think we need to change the narrative on turning it from a negative thing into a positive thing, because there's obviously great things. And I guess one of the reasons I love sunsets so much is because I'm fairly organized. I can't handle clutter. If I buy something, I want to get rid of something. And so I think for me, like product sunsets make me so happy because you're really focusing in on the stuff that works really well. So hopefully by the end, you'll come along this journey with me. So the term end of life, for obvious reasons, is kind of going out of fashion a little bit. And I think people in the industry are looking to also change the narrative around the negative connotations with sunsetting a product. It's not an end of life. And the reason I love the term product sunset is a sunset is a lovely thing. It brings out the crowd, everyone loves it. And it should be celebrated. End of lifing or sunsetting a product is not a bad thing. We've learned a lot of things on the way. Other terms that are quite common is retiring a product, unshipping, removing a product or feature from your suite, or to deprecate it. So let's make a pact here. I want us all to change the narrative on sunsets. And really not see them as a failure, because they're not. And we should really be celebrating retiring a product or feature just as you would a launch. So incentivizing teams that way, it's not a wasted effort. There's so much learning that happens. We know so much more about our customers. And so I'd really like to make the case here to change the narrative and turn it into a really positive thing. So why would you want to unship or sunset a product or feature? I love this high-level example by Reforge. If you haven't heard of Reforge, you should totally check them out. Such a great resource and a wealth of knowledge for product marketers and product managers and a whole bunch of other roles, to be honest. And so there's lots of reasons, as you can see here. And the ones that I've come across the most are strategic alignment. And this is arguably the most important one. Misalignment to the company strategy is an important reason to get rid of a product or feature. I've had features that are buggy, so they've maybe been stagnant or left for a little while, and then they're providing a kind of a bad experience for our customers. And then I've had ones that are too niche, so maybe only a small set of our customers are using them. And to be honest, I've been in times where all three of those cases are true, which makes for an easier case to sunset a product. So let's get into it. I'm going to take you through my sunset go-to-market framework. And it's really 6 steps that you want to consider or think about as you're going through kind of everything from the sunset conversation through to the execution to your customer base. Stakeholder alignment. So sunsetting a product is a whole company effort, which generally means there's a lot of stakeholders, which us product marketers are very familiar with. And so you really want to make sure you pull together stakeholders from each team and then that you appoint a decision maker. This is going to help make sure that you're considering all the different perspectives and getting all the information you need to know exactly what the right rollout strategy is and the messaging. You want to catch any red flags like right off the get-go, and if there's any big things that you need to address. And most importantly, just to get buy-in. Very rarely does everyone agree on whether or not a feature or product should be sunsetted. And by bringing everyone together and giving everyone a chance to tell you their thoughts and to be part of that decision, will make sure that you get buy-in within that group, but then also as you disseminate that decision throughout the organization. To create that alignment, obviously you need to level up to something, and you need to have some kind of decision-making criteria. And so it's really important to set the stage on your company strategy. Being really clear on what that is so you can see if this particular feature or product aligns, and really decide on the sunset criteria, whether, for a particular thing, it's revenue, it's a usage, it's misalignment with company strategy, is it so buggy? There's a lot of things, but you want to make sure that you really set the stage here so that you're all aligned from the get-go. And be cognizant that whilst I am making a case to turn the sunset into a positive thing, which needs to happen at all levels of the organization, it can be a bit of a sensitive subject for some. They might see their career growth or opportunities have been tied to the launch of a specific feature or the success of one. So you want to be cognizant of that when you're having those conversations with different stakeholders, and then towards the end, as you get into more of the communication side and messaging with your internal teams. But this is why turning it into a positive thing is really important, and celebrating sunsets as you would a launch, which I mentioned earlier. I've even seen like some teams are incentivized on sunsetting as they would be a launch, so that product managers can make that decision, or product marketing managers as well, when you're in that together. So once you've formed your group, the first thing you'll need to do is gather your competitive intel and really clarify what the landscape looks like today. You might not have done this analysis since the product was initially launched. And so the landscape might have changed. You might not know where you fit in anymore. Are you still priced right? Most importantly, can you even win in your space anymore? There's a reason this product or feature is up for this discussion. So you wanna gauge what's happening in the industry. A friend of mine works at Unbounce, which is a landing page builder. And I was telling her that I was working on this presentation, and she mentioned that one of their customers had 5 landing page builders that he had access to through various subscriptions and apps that he had access to. And he was only using Unbounce for his landing page as his main landing page builder. So do all of those other 4 need to exist? Probably not all of them. And is it table stakes, or is this feature something your customers think they're going to grow into? And what I mean by that is when a customer is making that decision, or the buyer is making that decision to go with you, is this something that they need to see? Does it need to be listed on their website just for you to even be part of that consideration process? Do they maybe think that it's something they'll grow into? And so they want to see that there, but they think it's going to be something they use, and they never actually end up using it. I've been in a situation where that was the case. We had one product. We kept hearing that, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year and for it. And it just never quite got there, but it kept coming up in RFPs. So, really understanding your buyer and your user here is so important. And then we get into customer data, which is my favorite and often the hardest information to pull on usage information. And I've crossed out product adoption here and put in product active usage, is because just because a client or customer has something enabled doesn't mean they're actually using it. So you really want to get the right data here so you can see who is actually using this product. And active in your company, might mean different things. Like it could be logging in once a day. It could be posting to Instagram a few times a week. Whatever that criteria is, agree on it as a company to really segment your information and see who is actually actively using this product. And then once you've got that, are they the right customers that are using it? You could be focused on enterprise, and you're finding that it's a lot of like smaller customers that are making use of this feature. So really understanding if those strategic clients are using it and if it's bringing value to the right segment. If you have post-decision information, it's really great to dig into why customers that had it had stopped using it or had canceled. And it really helps you kind of make sure you gather that information to make the decision, obviously. And it gives you a bit of insight into some of the problems that are within that feature. You could be a tomato that's trying to convince everyone that you're a fruit. But if I want a fruit, I'm going to go buy something else. So you want to make sure you understand exactly how you're being viewed. And then chatting about to your current users and finding out why they love it and what pain points it's solving. Maybe there's another way you can solve for this pain point. And this information too is super valuable for your messaging. So it kind of allows you to figure out how to address it as you get to that stage. When we get into revenue and costs, this is really going to be more relevant for products that have their own P&L or things like add-on products that have separate revenue attached. For features that are part of a plan, it's obviously quite difficult to attach a dollar amount to it, but every organization is different. And when when we talk about costs, it's important to consider hard costs like your tech stack, but also time. The time to have this conversation, developer time to get stuck back into it, especially if it's a product that you don't have much, that you're not into day to day. So we've all been in this situation. I've looked at a customer contract, and I see they have access to certain products, but they're not actually paying for it. So really looking at this information of your customers that are actually using this product, how many of them are paying for it? And this is more common in that enterprise space because we create custom packages and we bundle everything in sometimes, or we throw in things for free to close the deal. So really understanding what that looks like. And obviously that's a problem of doing that in contracts and bundling things in and throwing them in for free is that later you get to this point and it's hard to prove the value because people aren't paying for it. So a note to mention to your salespeople. And then you want to look at how much it costs you to maintain. We were once in a situation where we had an app that hadn't been touched in a long time, but we had a solid group of power users that loved it. And because it hadn't been touched in a long time, the tech stack was so old, it was buggy, we couldn't build anything on it. If we wanted to fix anything or add any functionality, we had to build the whole thing from scratch, which I guess depending on how you look at it, makes this sunset decision easier because it's, do we invest and build this whole thing from the beginning? So looking at what it costs you to maintain and to continue to maintain and invest, because obviously anything in your product suite sets the expectation that you're continuously iterating on it and are continuously looking to provide a better experience. So be cognizant of that too. And then look at the opportunity cost. Often the conversation around a sunset is why we shouldn't sunset, why we shouldn't end of life, why we need to keep it, here's the positive impact. But it's also important to look at the flip side of that. What could all our teams be working on instead if we freed up their time? What could we build? Obviously, our roadmap is like filled with things that we can't get to. Is there a whole new vertical that you're considering? Whatever that is, like create the positive spin on that, so you can understand, so that you're really kind of comparing apples to apples. It's not just about losing something; it's about creating an opportunity for something else. And you've got all this knowledge that you've learned from this example that you're going to transfer to other areas of the business. When we get to this section, messaging and segmentation, at this stage, the decision to sunset has officially been made. And you might get to the stage and be like, you know what, actually, after doing the competitive analysis, there's actually a play for us here that we hadn't considered. So doing that research is valuable regardless. It really just allows you to level set again on where this feature fits in within your market, within your customer base, and what you want to do going forward. But this is a sunset presentation, and so we will proceed as though all our group of stakeholders have loved the data that we have presented, and we are on board with sunsetting the product. One thing I will say on this is please do not forget to share the news internally. You know, we often get so wrapped up on our go-to-market and market being customers that we forget to share the news internally and bring our own team and company in on that decision making. And you know, the celebrating of the sunset happens at this level as well. You want to praise the teams that have done such a good job of bringing it to this. Talk about what you've learned, why it's been great. Be transparent about the reasons why it hasn't worked out, like what great learnings that you can share with the team. And then talk about the opportunity. What is this going to free everyone up to do? And get everyone excited about that. And once you've done that, you move on to the customer, and same thing. Be transparent with them on the decision and share what you'll be investing in instead. That could look like showing them a high level roadmap that have, more themes, and you're not talking about specific features. We, on one sunset I was working on, what we decided to do was, after we sent out the communication, we invited our strategic clients to have a fireside chat with us and our leadership team and our product team. And the reason we wanted to do that is we didn't want them thinking about the sunset in a negative way. And this was quite a big product, so we wanted to go a little bit extra for it. And it allowed, what we wanted to do is bring them in and give them the opportunity to ask questions about why, where we'll be investing in instead. And obviously the areas that we're investing in are things that they want. Like we're investing in areas that can help them grow their business. And, they understand we can't do everything. Your customers will understand that. You can't do everything well. And so you're really focusing on this particular area or this group of areas to spend your time. And then you want to segment to provide the right level of attention and care. So you can't send the same email blast out to everyone, unfortunately, as easy as that would be. You've got power users, you've got your strategic clients, you've got clients that your client managers might have really good relationships with. And so you really want to give the right level of care to each group. I find what can be helpful here is giving client managers a list and having them decide how they want to proceed. You'll obviously have an idea of who your strategic clients are, and you're going to give them that VIP treatment no matter what. And then you can let your client managers decide what the best thing is for the remaining. And it goes without saying, obviously create that narrative, a consistent narrative of the messaging through email, through the one-on-one conversations, through the fireside chat. Whoever is going to be having those conversations or creating your content, make sure you're providing your positioning as you would for a launch to make sure you get that consistency and that message goes out as you had planned. For client managers that are having one-on-one conversations, create talking points for them. Are there different configurations that you need to consider? So some clients might have to do this, some might have to do this, some might have to do this. Outline that so they're armed and ready to have the conversations, and anticipate any Q&As, just so that they feel confident in what's happening, and they're portraying this as a good news story. If they don't know anything, they might set a more negative tone, or if there's so much uncertainty, it might not set the right message. And then we get into timelines and rollout, which is where project management heaven, I guess. So you want to set clear timelines for the entire sunset period. That being when different milestones are, when you need to send out reminders when the final sunset date is, and then what needs to happen after the sunset. Don't forget to close off workflows or end subscriptions or delete data or save data or whatever that might be. Make sure you're really thinking about this end to end. Oh, and obviously when you're going to share internally with your staff as well. And then you want to segment here as well. And the reason you want to do that is because you've got leads, you've got new customers that have just signed on and getting access, and then you've got long-term customers that have been using it, and they're the ones you're going to create a good timeline for. So for example, when do you remove the product from your website? Do you do that straight away? When do you remove it from your pricing page? When do new customers no longer see this new feature when they log into the app? And then obviously your longer term customers will see it for whatever that timeline is until the sunset date is. So really thinking about when those are happening and rolling that into your timeline. And when we're talking about how long, there's no definitive answer or right and wrong. It really depends on what your product is. It could be anywhere from 30 days to maybe a year. And it really depends on the switching costs. What do your users have to do to find something else? What's the level of investment? So really being clear on that for your own space will help you set the timeline there. And obviously stakeholders can help you. There might be certain milestones that you need to consider. And if you can, why not go the extra mile and recommend partners or vendors at a discounted rate? If you have a lot of customers using something, you might be able to negotiate a group buying power because you've got a lot of people that are going to transition onto the new solution. It might be an awesome opportunity for a partnership. If you can vet some options and provide them with something to transition to, save them time, show them you care. Why not do that if it's within your power? And then remind customers of the sunset date. They will not always go willingly. I had one product I was working on where we were no longer supporting certain payments terminals with our point of sale. And we couldn't just turn them off because we could see that they were still being used and we needed our clients to be able to process payments. So after, millions of reminders, we ended up having to get our legal team involved and having them outline like the risks associated with continuing to support them, like for us and for the customer. So depending on what your space is, be aware that you might have to extend your timeline or pull different levers. Maybe your leadership team needs to call some customers, whatever that might be. It just depends. Sometimes you can't just turn it off, but obviously just be wary of that in your space. Reminders are very important, and check-ins. And whatever you do, do not tell your customers that you're going to sunset a product or feature and then forget to sunset said product or feature. I've seen this happen. It makes you lose credibility. It makes it so much harder to get them off the product later because they no longer believe that you are going to end of life it. And it's not a good look for your brand. You're saying this is no longer worth investing in, and then it gets left behind. What does that say about the things that you are continuing to invest in? So really make sure that you follow that end to end and make sure all workflows are done before moving on to another product. If you use a project management tool, I like to load all this stuff in right at the beginning so that you have reminders to turn off workflows and everything like that. So it's not based on just purely remembering. And then also avoid a limbo state at all costs. A limbo state is basically when the feature should be killed, but the team doesn't move forward with removing it, and it dies a very, very slow and sad death. And you don't want to get end of lifed because you didn't end of life at the right time. We could all be watching Blockbuster every night, but we're not. So I invite you to join me on this quest to change the narrative on product sunsets. Let's see them as a celebration of we've learned a lot of things. It's allowing us to focus on new things. And let's celebrate retiring a product or feature as you would a launch and incentivize teams that way. Thank you so much for listening to me today. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you about this topic or any other topics. And also, if you would like to be on the PMM Talks show, which is held by the Product Marketing Alliance, I would love to have you. We can brainstorm topic ideas, as I mentioned. My LinkedIn handle is there if you want to reach out. Thank you so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.